Love you. Wow. Hi, my family. My name is Khalis, also known in our fellowship as Ernie H. The man you see before you truly is a most grateful recovering addict. Hi, my family. First and foremost, I give acknowledgement, I give credit, I give thanks to a God that I've come to understand by meeting you. By meeting you in my 54th year of life, when I came into these rooms, an atheist who was confirmed in his belief that he was an atheist. I want to thank this God for allowing me to be the prodigal son who has returned home again to the city of my birth, Detroit, Michigan. Born here September the 25th, 1933. So you see a man standing here 61 years, 7 months old. I have to thank this God. For you see, I've been blessed to speak here 3 times, in DACNA 1, DACNA 2, and DACNA 3. For when I left here, August the 22nd of 1959, I had heard that they had $2 bags of heroin that was killing motherfuckers in Harlem, and I wanted to get some of that. There may be occasions when my language may be a bit like that. But it is certainly not out of disrespect. It is certainly not to startle, to amaze, to shock anyone. But I've come to bring a message of hope that was given to me. I've come to bring a message of freedom that was given to me. And I've come from the bowels of hell. For I suffered for 40 years in the grips of a disease that was so nefarious and foul and low down that it had convinced me that my pain was pleasure. So that I was able to lie to myself for 40 years and say that it was all right. That last ass whipping wasn't that bad. For the newcomers, you may hear chuckles at times through my sharing. And certainly I'm not a stand-up comic. For if you had laughed when some of this shit happened to me, choose your weapon, boy. But this laughter is healing. This laughter is identification. My ID. I want to thank DACNA for having the confidence to invite me back 3 times to share here. To share on riding out the storm. A storm, y'all, that the thunder clapped and the lightning flashed. The clouds were always low in the sky. For I cursed dawn. I cursed the new day. I cursed the day that they said it was a holiday. Let's celebrate. I want to thank all those that have come out this afternoon. I want to thank my brother who is here today. very moved at this moment. I had to separate myself right before I came into the room. I had to go upstairs and ask my God to touch my words, to let me speak a message that if but one hears and your life is inspired to change, then it was so worth the journey from New York here. For you see, in my use and abuse of drugs, I had little to give. I didn't know I was self-centered. What was mine, and what was yours was mine, and it was supposed to be that way. Don't you know who I am? Riding out the storm. There are some words that come to mind from a song that I wish to open these remarks with. The lyrics said a long time ago, about 1,000,000 years BC, the best things in life were absolutely free. But no one congratulated a sky that was always blue, and no one anticipated a moon that was always new. So it was planned that they would vanish now and then, and you must pay before you get them back again. That's what storms were made for. So you needn't be afraid, for every time it rains pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? While you will find your fortune is falling all over town. Just be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Then trade them in for a package of sunshine and flowers. For when you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree, because there'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. I use that as a preamble into my remarks. For you see, I cursed God. I took great pride in that. God existed because of me. I was the big piece of shit that the sun revolved around. I took pride in going to the libraries and seeking out knowledge to deny God's existence. You know, like atoms and electrons and protons and subatomic particles and quarks and motherfucking neutrinos. I like that. I like subscribing to the astronomy magazine and looking out into outer space, out into the galaxies, out into the ethers, into the heavens, out into eternity, where light cannot even approach and deny God's existence. For you see, it was my belief that if there were a God, why the fuck did he make me black and put me in white America unless he was some type of sadistic, sick son of a bitch? I'm talking about riding out the storm. Didn't come here to step on no one's toes. I didn't come here to point fingers at anybody. I come to talk about me and how I found my recovery through y'all, through all the beautiful colors of this fellowship called humankind, called Narcotics Anonymous. If I had my choice, I wouldn't have been born in 1933. The Depression had just hit hard then. People didn't even have no pencils to sell, let alone sell one. And I was the last child of 6. So I had nothing new. Everything was handed down and passed on. It's a bitch, boy, when you wear farted out pants and wore out shoes. My story. Show you how God works in my life. I came in a family that was an expression of the outer world. But you see, like it or not, we live in a color-conscious society. You're judged by color. God bless the blind. So I was raised hearing that if you white, you right. If you brown, well, you can hang around, but if you black, step back. So I got brothers, man, that are cold black, my oldest brother. And I took pride in calling him a black motherfucker. A little yellow dog. And he took great pride in that. For you see, they said if you were high yalla, you were better than, but not as good as. Because the outside world, the white world, they were caught up in the reverse sickness. They was talking about, I want to be tall, dark, and handsome. So they buying Tanorama and Tansation and Man Tan and laying in the sun, talking about I got a sun tan, and how do you like my tan? And they had to put a Tony Home permanent in their hair to make straight hair wave. And when I looked around my family and my neighbors, they was talking about Natanola motherfucking bleaching cream, because I got to get light, bright, and damn near white, and I got to put some hot fire in my tight curls to make it appear straight. I'm talking about riding out the storm. So all my values was fucked up. All my morals was fucked up. I didn't know what world did I belong to, if I even belonged. Because the God, if he existed, didn't hear me. I asked him to take my life many times. Fuck you keep waking me up for, God? There have been times in my family that people will ask me in all sincerity, and I understand, Ernie, man, watch your language, clean it up a bit, you know, that. Fuck that! I know about nouns and pronouns and verbs and adverbs and adjectives and prepositions and interjections and motherfucking conjunctions. I know that. But that didn't keep me clean. That was no requirement for my dealer. I didn't go down there and say, oh, gee, golly fudge, old kid. Because y'all told me unless I remembered from whence I came, I am doomed to repeat it. So y'all told me a spade is a spade. Don't misplace it for a heart. My disease is always talking to me. I'm 7 years and 2 months in my recovery, and I still have those episodes where my disease tells me it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. Just one-on-one. Don't tell no motherfucker. All I need is an overnight pass. I had to weather a storm, y'all. I had a storm, y'all. You know, they said that what I would find in the serenity was not freedom from the storm, but peace in the storm. Don't remove the mountain. Give me the strength to climb the motherfucker. Because I had a PhD in running. And a master. So when I arrived in the rooms, I arrived very angry, y'all. I was angry. God knows if he's sitting in his place of power. I came in these rooms angry and arrogant. I knew all of the answers. All of the answers. I just didn't know all the motherfucking questions. That was my only problem. So when I came in February of 1988, I came in a storm, a physical storm. It was a cold winter of December 87 and February of 88. And I came in at 54 years old smoking crack cocaine. Never given it one moment of thought, why the fuck did they name this shit crack cocaine? You would have thought that's a logical, reasonable question. Well, if you've ever fucked with it, you know why they called it crack cocaine. I got another one of my brothers that just came in. Thank you, Mike T. Love you, Bob. Love you, Carl. All the time. Love you. But when I came in these rooms, y'all, to the best of my recollection, I had given it my all. I had tried to stop. You don't use 40 years and not try to stop. I mean, you retire off a job after 20 years. They give you the weekend off, vacations, sick leave, personal days, holidays. My motherfucking disease says, nigga, you must think about me in your sleep, because there will be the wake up you got to deal with. So I had to come in this fellowship and find a way out, because I had convinced myself, as y'all have heard me share, that I could stop any time I wanted to. As long as it wasn't now, that was my only condition. I didn't see no reason to hurry. You know what I mean? I like to nod. I like to dig in my ass and pull on my wood and yawn and scratch. I like to take the top of my head and brush the fucking sidewalk and defy gravity. I like that. And I labeled bad good. And I called low high. And I ended up smoking the devil's powder and called it angel dust. So I stuck needles in me for 23 years, running up and down the streets of Lenox Avenue and Fifth Avenue and St. Nicholas like a raving maniac. And my condition to buy from you, you had to tell me it killed somebody. Because I used to overdose. I'm going to talk about riding out the storm that I can be here 61 years and 7 months old. I used to live. I'm talking about a God that took me when I denied the God's existence, when I called him a foul, low-down, skunky, dog, funky motherfucker. You hear me? He was truly the footprints in the sand for me. Because every time I overdosed and I came out of it, I said, God damn, that was some good shit, boy. Do you know what an overdose is? You're a heartbeat from death. Your blood pressure has dropped. Your body temperature has dropped. Your heart is missing beats. Your pulse is damn near non-existent. Your respiration is almost shut the fuck off. And you turn in colors. And I said, boy, I got to get some more of that. If you got a reservation, I came here to fuck the motherfucker up, boy. And again, I don't mean to step on toes with my language, but they said language is the mode of communication. And if I use these words to be in a defamatory manner, then I'm using profanity. But I'm talking about something that this is the glove that fits, boy. Because I drank this motherfucker that the state of New York allowed them to bottle and sell as alcohol, as wine. This no great shit called Thunderbird. You know a Thunderbird. Same manufacturer might have made a Gypsy Rose and Swiss Up. They had no grapes either. But you see, I had a love affair with Thunderbird. I love Thunderbird. I'm talking about I love Thunderbird. You hear me? Love you, Kathy. I'm talking about I love, you see why I love Thunderbird? Thunderbird allowed me the opportunity to throw up yellow motherfucking liver bile. That iridescent yellow liver bile. That fluorescent shit. I mean, when it come out your mouth like long, slimy strings, and you gagging, and you choking, and you holding on to the toilet bowl, for you might fall over into the motherfucker. I'm talking about I love Thunderbird. "37 years I drank that. And people that drink alcohol get water brain. They get kidney, liver damage. They get heart. Their heart muscle get fucked up, and nothing happened to me, y'all. You don't shoot heroin in your arm with dirty fucking needles. I ain't talking about these newfangled shit where you use once and throw away. I use mine for a year. One of them veterinarian needles, too, them bleeding needles. You know them needles, you sharpen them with 2 pennies, like snap, snap, snap. Yeah. They got a little dirt in them. Well, you just get a wire out of an old lamp cord. You run through this son of a bitch. Yeah. I didn't die, y'all. I didn't know nothing about, well, you know, you change your cooker. I used the same cooker till it turned coal black, till the cottons was hard as this fucking counter and twice as black, because that was going to be my wake up in the morning. And I didn't know that I had a disease. I didn't know it was progressive. I thought I was just doing a little more research, that's all. So I got introduced to these legal drugs like Tuanols and Secanols and them motherfucking Nimutals and them Dorian sons of bitches, them pills that tell you can kick the police's ass. Yeah. Talking about riding out the storm, y'all. And I'm going to get to why I'm riding out the storm. I'm just laying down a little scenario of where the fuck I came from. The state of New York said it was tired of looking at my ass running in and out the hospitals. So they had this drug that it was going to give me, this drug called anti-abuse. So now you can't drink on anti-abuse now. It'll fuck you up, boy. Alcohol and abuse don't mix. Had to go see the psychiatrist, the psychologist, the social worker, all them sons of bitches to confirm in my brain you don't drink on anti-abuse. But I got dirty ankles. The hell you tell me I don't drink on anti-abuse? You know how long and how much energy you got to put in to get dirty fucking ankles? Hell you gonna tell me about anti-abuse? Of course, now when you drink on anti-abuse and it mixes with the alcohol, you turn beet red. You feel like your temperature just went up to 150. You sweating, you fucked up. But you know what? I learned to like that feeling. Because you see, when I was a young child, boy, I learned that if you spun in a circle and held your breath, you'd get dizzy, and I liked that feeling. I learned at an early age that when you fell off your bike and your wound was healing around your knee and you picked around it when it was getting better, it felt good. That is until you dug too deep. Well, needless to say, that anti-abuse didn't work. So the doctors had something else up their sleeve. They said, we got something, boy, that due to World War II and due, God bless the dead, and due to the poor Jews who were prisoners in the German concentration camps, they used them as experiments. Because you see, the German army was fighting all over the motherfucking world, and they was using raw opium that came out of the triangle over there of Cambodia and Laos and Thailand and Burma and all that places, and they didn't have no drugs. And he told his scientists, you got to get me a synthetic drug, and they named this drug after Adolf Hitler, and they called it Dolphine. And it was brought over here and synthesized, and they called it methadone. And they told me that they was going to give this shit to me for the rest of my entire life, and it was going to be free of charge, and that they was going to give me 100 milligrams, and that it was going to allow me to nod, and I wanted to know, where the fuck do you sign, boy? Talking about riding out the storm, y'all. Nothing worked. I mean, nothing even came close to working. Nothing was even a stopgap measure. Nothing even was a pause. My whole entire life was about pain. I'm talking about raw, unadulterated pain. And my disease said, man, you got to stand in a line that the motherfucker is going to sell you a dummy and you going to apologize, and he's not taking shorts, he's not taking change, he's not taking no motherfucking singles, and you going to call, as I said, your pain pleasure. You ever ran across the street because it was 1 minute to 12 and the liquor store was closing and traffic was coming? You made it to the liquor store. You ever put some crack in the drawer and say, this is for tomorrow? God is good. I don't know how many old-timers like myself is in here that hard drug with them goddamn needles and heroin. But I know there was many days, boy, my bowels was breaking and my eyes was tearing and my nose was running and my mouth had slime and I was sweating in the motherfucking winter time and I'm sick and my back is in cramps and my stomach is in a motherfucking knot. And I'm all fucked up, and I see the dealer, and I break out into a smile. And my bowels tighten up, and my stomach relax, and my back ain't cramping. My eyes ain't tearing. I stop yawning, and he says, oh, man, Ernie, man, my man, I'm sorry, baby, I just sold out. And my nose starts running. Talking about riding out the storm, y'all. But what is it about me that compelled me to do them horrendous things to myself? Things that if I even overheard you plotting to do to me, boy, I would collect cans in the street and put a contract on your motherfucking life. It was very simple, y'all. I didn't like me. I didn't like me. I said I didn't like me. No, let me strip myself. I despised my motherfucking ass. I loathed me. I held me in utter contempt. There was nothing that I wouldn't do to me, or at least just entertain the idea. I put myself on the front lines. I volunteered for the dealer many times when he came up on 116th Street in the summer, and he had his long white shoes on and his beaver hat, and it was all broke down, and he got a Cadillac program with wide motherfucking wheels, and he's calling everybody that used drugs a punk, and he's looking for people that will test his shit. He wants to see how the cut is, and I'm competing with these other motherfuckers, and I'm saying, well, let me, I will die for your ass. I didn't like me. I got green eyes. I got straight hair. I'm high yellow. I got freckles. And I wanted to be black. I always wanted to be black. I was a minority within a motherfucking minority. And people rubbing me on the head and applauding me for the motherfucking shit that I'm least responsible for. Bring home an A or a B, that got no credit. The fuck does an A mean? What does that mean? And I ain't knocking my parents because they was caught up in their own motherfucking world. They had to suffer their own hell from their parents. They didn't know nothing about denial. They just knew about basic love. I'll give you what I got. Chitlins is hard to digest, y'all. Fatback is hard to digest. Salt pork is hard to digest. So I learned early on about getting outside of myself. I didn't like me. In fact, until I got 6 years old, y'all, I could not speak 3 words, best as I can recollect, in a row. I stammered so bad that I just couldn't talk. You ever got whipped and your parents tell you, shut up, or I'm going to give you something to cry about? And you try not to cry, and you getting all choked and shit? That was a regular with me. My old man didn't beat me often, but every once in a while he kicked my ass and tell me this is hurting me worse than it's hurting you. So I used to say, well, why the fuck you hit yourself then? I was a racist. And I never apologized for that. Boy, I was a racist. You know what a racist is? I mean someone that dislikes you because of your race. Something like me that you was least responsible for. I hated white people, boy. I hated white people with a passion. But I hated all black people too. With a fucking passion. I hated brown people, yellow people. Because they didn't like me. What made a turnaround when they said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? When the best that the state, that the government, with all their money, power, prestige, couldn't do to my life. They sat me before many psychiatrists, almost as a guinea pig, because they said I was articulate and they could do shit to me and I could tell them what the motherfucking response was going to be, and they could say it that they could understand. So they gave me all these goddamn ass pills and shit. In the hospital, 72 times I've been in some kind of hospital or in some jail or in a therapeutic community. I'm not going to break the anonymity of one, but I was one of the 12 founding members. And they told me after 2 years that I earned drinking privileges. That you can socially drink. Well, so shall I, and let's put the bottle away and take out the long stem glass. And I drank more than I drank when I was down there on the Bowery. When I was living in them hotels, they call it the Prince Hotel on the Bowery, where you go in there and they make you lift your arms and spread your legs, and they got this great, big, huge spray can, and they spray you like you a motherfucking giant bug. You see, they didn't want to confuse my bugs with their bugs. That didn't work. No judge ever asked me before sentencing, do you have a higher power? Have you meditated over this? But what worked was a group of addicts. A group of addicts who told me that no matter what I had done, that was not the criteria to keep me in or to put me out. That all I had to do was to come in sit down and learn to listen. Because when I came around, I didn't hear that about don't pick it up, you can't get high. Because when that did finally register, I said, are you crazy? I want to fucking get high. What do you mean, don't pick it up, you can't? I want to. So I had a young blood that went on to become my sponsor, told me, but baby, that's the high cost of low living. Riding out the storm. I have to touch on this. Sometimes it doesn't sit well with some people. People get mixed feelings about it, or it rises, kicks something up in your story, but fuck it, I have to reveal myself. This is my story, as the speaker said so eloquently last night. I learned about sex at a young age and didn't know what the fuck it was. All I knew was it brought pleasure. And it was with the same sex. And I learned to like the motherfucker. Then I learned to love the motherfucker. Then I learned that you couldn't talk about it. Then I learned that there are some secrets in the family that you don't speak on. And I learned that I couldn't be me. I learned that the more that I thought I loved that which was labeled abnormal, the more I had to use substances to get outside of me. I didn't know that what my dis-ease was. Again, my dis-ease was me. It wasn't the spinning in a circle getting dizzy. It wasn't the wine. It wasn't the heroin and the Tuanols and the methadone and the motherfucking cyclazozine. It was feelings that I had to come to grips with, and y'all, for the first time in my life, allowed me that opportunity. Whenever I went to the psychiatrist, I would bring up about homosexuality, and they would say, wait, no, you've got a deep voice. Why, you don't exhibit the mannerisms. You need another dose of Tuanol, and you'll be all right. Approached my parents about it. They didn't believe me. Until you get to where you don't want to talk about it, because you don't want to be judged. Until you find yourself paying someone to accept you when they hold you in ridicule. That's painful. And I found a fellowship, 54 years old, that allowed me the access to what? Change. Grant you now, I said change. I didn't say I wasn't no longer going to be me, but I was going to change. And I didn't think that was even remotely possible. How the hell do you change a lifetime of behavior? How do you possibly change? How do you stop being an addict? How do you stop wanting to use? How do you stop chasing the dream? How do you stop? Y'all told me one day at a time, and more will be revealed. I hold Detroit, Michigan dear to my heart. Because Detroit was where I grew up. Where I experienced my formative years. But you see, I don't know about this thing we call dysfunctional family. I lived in a motherfucking dysfunctional city. And I was taught from a very early age that it was about differences. Even though the similarities is 99 to 1, it was always about the one. It was always about the difference. Y'all told me, group of addicts who wrote a book about addicts called The Basic Text, who said in the first step, baby, you are powerless over your addiction. And because of that, your life has become unmanageable. And you told me that when I admitted, accepted, and dealt with that I was a crazy son of a bitch who had to be restored to sanity. And you told me that I could find a God in this room through y'all, be it the basic text, be it the fellowship, be it the God of my understanding, but that I could learn to turn it over and let it be his will and not mine be done. But in order to do that, y'all said that I had to take an inventory of me. And wasn't nothing wrong with me. If you motherfuckers leave me alone, I'll be all right. Don't you know I used drugs for 40 years? How could anything be wrong with me? Do you know what it is to get up in the morning with no motherfucking money and there's a blizzard outside and it's 3:30 and your disease says get up and get out there and you say, but man, martial law is declared. They shoot motherfuckers on the street. You know, your disease said, well, go to the rooftops, but get me mine. I'm talking about I was driven. I was obsessed. My whole entire diseased framework called addiction. Last year, they asked me what I share here on the vicious cycle. This year, they're asking me will I share on a new day, on riding out a storm, on reflecting upon yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But always knowing that right now it's 10 minutes to 4 p.m. Saturday, April the 16th, 15th, right now. Call Beijing, China. And ask the operator, would you please give me the time? She'd say, certainly, it's 10 minutes to 4, Sunday, April the 16th. So you'd be talking to her tomorrow. She would be answering you yesterday. But the conversation would be taking place now. Y'all told me that. In all my wisdom, I couldn't see that. I was always about coulda, shoulda, woulda, and I'm gonna. In a few minutes, just a second, what's the rush? Hold the fort, let me finish this. Until I was driven to do it for 40 years. And y'all told me that the storm cloud would lift if I didn't pick it up. But like I said, I came in smoking crack. So there's no generation gaps, smoking crack. And I was a good crack soldier. You know? I'm one of them crack addicts that could take that last rock and cut that motherfucker into 900 pieces. You know what I mean? Y'all told me I could be freed from that. Y'all told me I no longer had to play Let's Have Heart Attack. Anybody ever play Let's Have Heart Attack? Sing that song, Nearer My God to Thee. I know I did. Every time I thought I took too deep a puff, you know when you get that feeling and suddenly you feel like, that's it, that's it, that's it. Now I get to talking to God. Oh, God, if you just don't let me die, God, I'm going to leave this shit alone. I'm an addict. As soon as my heart got a rhythm, well, that was too big a rock. Y'all told me I didn't have to repeat that no more. But I had to sit, and like Doreen from Washington, D.C. say, you got to sit sometime and you got to rock with that motherfucker. You got to roll with it, because there will be times that you want to use. Don't think that I got 7 years and 2 months that I don't want to use sometimes. That disease concept don't rise in my brain and give me all kinds of rational excuses why I should. So I learned to say, well, thanks for sharing, and we got a nice way of closing. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the person I can, and the wisdom to know that it's me. That's where it's at. Y'all taught me how to do that. Y'all taught me how to do that. Because it was always white folks' fault. It was always the mailman's fault if my digit wasn't in his bag. It was the weatherman's fault if he predicted rain. I only called on God when I was standing before the judge, and I said, God, please touch this judge's heart. God. Y'all told me that I could ride out the storms because I could find a God in the rooms in y'all, because you raised your hand and said you didn't use today. And addicts don't say that. I watched y'all pass the basket, and you put money in and you didn't take none out. I wanted to be the treasurer when I come in. Boy. It's always stormy. It's always stormy. But the cloud only gets in front of the sun, because the sun is always shining. And y'all said, this too shall pass. Things come to pass. There has never been anything that came to stay and to keep it in the now. Because I've never met a man who got high tomorrow. I keep it in the now. Keep making meetings. And I do what the fifth tradition tells me, that it allows us to open meetings. But once the meeting is open, it says now, when all is said and done, your primary purpose can only be to carry the message to addicts and to practice these principles in all your affairs. For that is all that I have to give. I don't have nothing else to give. But yet that's everything. I don't need nothing else to give. I don't need you to promise me the world's jewels. You gave me the greatest jewel of all, and that was freedom from active addiction. That was the greatest gift of all. They don't sell that gift in Tiffany's. Donald Trump can't buy that gift. can't come in tonight and steal that gift. That gift don't never go out of style. Y'all said if you find that book and you're an addict, please read it. You've just been blessed. If I've stepped on some toes, it's all right. I don't know if you use like me, them toes took you in abandoned motherfucking buildings. Took you in buildings with no lights and the steps was motherfucking missing. My language offended anybody? Webster's Dictionary of International Language didn't send my motherfucking ass here. But I sure enough came out of love. My cup runneth over. I have been blessed in my 7 years of recovery, far greater than anything that ever happened in my entire life. And I've had good things to happen. There was a time I was called sleepwalker in this city. I was Sandy the Sandman. I was a disc jockey of a jazz program out of Windsor, Ontario, CKLW. And came on midnight to 1:30 in the morning. And it was about jazz. And in 1955, 6, and 7, jazz was still called a race music. Or junkies listened to jazz. But there was a song that I heard a vocalist sing, and I'm 23 years old, wild and crazy, making a lot of money illegally. Got this disc jockey show. And I heard this woman, her name was Billie Holiday. And she went to the Bible, and she took some words out and put it to music. And she said, them that's got shall get. Them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, but it still is news. Because mama may have and papa may have. But God bless the child that's got his own. When you've got money, you've got lots of friends just a crowding round your door. But when it's gone and the spending ends, they just don't come no more. Now, rich relations will give a crust of bread and such. And you can help yourself. But don't you take too much. Because mama may have. And papa may have. But God bless the child that's got his own. And y'all told me that. Y'all said that you can get a God of your understanding. That you can recover for you. That the only requirement is the desire. For without it, you are doomed because you can be beaten, threatened, jailed, counseled with, analyzed, and prayed over. But you will not stop until you want to stop. Y'all told me that. I want to thank DACNA 3. I want to thank the committee that asked me to come. I want to thank Michael T. and the committee that has made a convention, and I've been blessed to speak in 17 in my 2 years of active speaking on what they call the circuit. And I've heard Detroit referred to as the convention to teach people how to have conventions. Y'all can be very blessed because love permeates these rooms. We give plenty hugs. We give them heartfelt hugs. We give them hugs that you feel all down in the gristle. We give them hugs that you walk away knowing there's a God. I want to thank John Kay. I don't mean to single out anybody. I want to thank John Kay. I want to thank Brother Usman. But you see, they've been examples to me of how, even when adversity happens within the time frame of their recovery, how they use the stumbling block and make it a stepping stone, and how they turn a negative into a positive and grow, and how there are no big I's and little U's. And with the God of my understanding, I thank you for giving me your attention. I thank this wonderful convention to be, as the word implies, to convene and share. God is good. My name is Khalis. Thanks for letting me share.